Doing something for the first time is wild. And when you think of the outdoors, it's inherently wild. I think the most important thing for me is sharing an activity, sharing what I love with people that have not experienced that or have some kind of barrier related to it. The magic of being able to create that bond, that connection with an activity, a person, a place, that's special. Well, we're right into it. Welcome to another episode of Sincerely Yours Outdoors. Man, what a beautiful morning, a beautiful day. Happy to spend it here with my brothers.
Yeah.
How we feeling?
Oh, excellent, bro.
There's no better way to wake up.
This is the best day. I cannot ask for anything better.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is an amazing time.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good, feeling refreshed. For context, cold plunge with the crew this morning. It was most certainly cold. Right into the cast.
Yeah.
So feeling good, energized at this point in time, and excited for the conversation with you, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing better than starting off your day just straight jackhammering.
Yeah.
Like literally.
It's a little cold. Yeah. A little nippy.
That's so good.
It's all healthy, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's all for a good purpose, for recovery, right? Evan, how you feeling, man? We want to start off by just seeing how you're doing, what you're consuming, what you're willing to share, publication, audio, podcast, whatever it may be, that we should tap into.
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. This is definitely an emotional space for me to be in. Here in the Cascades, there was only one other time that I came, and was to attempt that climb. I'm back, and just to eye up the objective again and get back at it next year. So, well, this year for sure. So yeah, time is quickly approaching. So I'm just counting down the days, getting better. I've been working a lot this winter, and now I'm just really in recovery mode to solidify my conditioning that I'm in and hit the road running, man. So yeah.
I love that, and I know, looking back at the space that we're in, the symbolism of that and what it means to you, and we'll jump into that in one moment. But what I really want to jump into first and foremost is identity, and I don't want to place that upon you as to how you identify, but when we first met, there were a couple of things that initially jumped out to me. You said, I climb, and I'm from Baltimore, And of course, residing in Pittsburgh, the latter, I was like, oh, God.
I mean, it could quickly, I was like,
So we should find a new table to sit at. But tell us, and that's not comprehensive of all that you are. So take those two things, expand upon it, but also tell us other things about what makes you you.
Yeah. I'm a climber. I'm a newer climber. You know what I mean? I would say, I just started climbing 4 years ago when I am from Baltimore and moved to Colorado 5 years ago. And for the first year, I was working. Had a buddy from the East Coast come out and moved to Denver, and then we started hanging out. I got him a job, so we started working together. Started hiking and stuff, and he was already into climbing. And throughout our hikes, we would see climbers, and he would kind of educate us. And or educate me. Sorry, he would educate me on what I was seeing and stuff. And I'm super competitive, yo. I'm very competitive. So, and it's a bad thing. That's why I'm like really quiet, you know, because you know. So he was like, you know, we were hiking one day and we stumbled upon the second flat iron, the beginning of it. Saw people climbing up with no ropes, and I'm like, man, they're nuts, bro. Like, seriously, what am I seeing here? Like, am I gonna see a death? Like, you know. So he was like, no, man, you know, this is the second flat iron. It's, you know, it's like 5-0. It's pretty chill, you know. I'm looking at him. I'm like, I'm in better shape than you, kind of thing. Like, you know, all right. He was like, you want to do it? I was like, well, I just don't have the confidence. You know what I mean? I just don't know or understand my capabilities are. So he introduced me to the climbing gym, and I went to the climbing gym, and 3 days later we went out and climbed the second flat iron. So yeah, because I went there, I was like, man, I'm pretty nice. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty nice.
I got it. Yeah. I'm like, yo, I'm good at this. Your boy is nice.
Yeah. So that's the introduction, like how I got into climbing. But you know, I'm a family man at heart. You know, I do have a soft spot for my wife and 2 kids, and you know, just growing up in Baltimore, with so many paths that you can choose and not all are good. You know, you have to have that like self-discipline to kind of stay on track and not get distracted. And you know, I just wanted to be. I've always like led from example, not really words. So just to continue that and pass that on to my kids, it's just like amazing. So
That's awesome, and I think of humility as well when we first like connected, and it was so funny because Marcus was we were like setting the scene. We were eating dinner, alluding to that first time when you were like, yeah, I'm from Baltimore. Marcus was like, yeah, I'm starting to climb. I'm like in it a little bit. Yeah. He's like, I'm hitting this route and you know all this kind of thing at this elevation. And you were like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. And you were like, and Marcus was like, yeah, I'm looking to, you know, build out and go even more and like explore more. And you were like, yeah, I know a few people. And then we further got into your story. I was like, you know people, you're it. Yeah. You know, it's like you were that guy. To what you're doing now, which is excellent. You know, but also like, you know, the humility shown there. Of like not being like, yeah, I'm hitting 14ers like it's nothing, you know. You know, I do that in autopilot.
That's too funny.
To not mention that would could have just like it was just awesome, the grace and you know the humility that you showed at that point in time, which like dives us into. You mentioned your start. You know, take us through like how you've consumed and been part of the climbing community adjacent to it. But also within your own story and like where it's taken you. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a great place to start is my very first 14er. Mm-hmm. You know, it in theory this is a very cool thing to do, and people would love to strive. It looks almost majestic in a way. You know, these sceneries that you get to see and stuff like that, but not realizing like the potential or real danger that you could put yourself into. Right. So, and the first time that I did a 14er, I mean, I didn't do it correctly. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was lessons to be learned, and a very humbling experience. You know, I call myself in shape, right? And like when people are passing, older people are passing me and like making it look easy, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Yeah. You know what I mean? And everybody's coming down and I'm going up at, you know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, so, you know, I'm just gonna state the facts here about my first 14er. So, on the way to do our 14er, I had to buy hiking shoes. We didn't get to the trailhead until I think 2 p.m. We didn't have a 4x4 vehicle, so that added 4 miles extra to our hike that wasn't anticipated. We didn't have headlamps. We didn't have first aid kit. I was in jeans. Okay. So, and we were in the snow. So
Oh my God.
my water froze.
Oh my God.
My buddy's sandwich blew off the mountain when he took one bite of it. So limited
Oh my
calories.
gosh.
You know, quickly losing light at 12,500 feet. One
Yeah.
party in front of us, and we're like, we don't have headlamps. We got to turn around. My buddy was kind of sick too. So going through all of that and just experiencing that, digesting that, surviving that, and learning from it, really made me like really immerse myself into the climbing education part, on how to like legitimately do this. And so I started to dibble and dabble and find out like the climbing community, 14ers.com and Colorado 14ers Initiative, and I'm really big into health and safety and risk management and stuff like that. So I started looking into search and rescue teams by counties and places, and start looking at their stories, survival stories, and trying to learn from other people's mistakes. I watched as many YouTube videos that I could. I bought a book, Jerry Roach, Colorado 14er, like any knowledge that I could have got my hands on, I wanted to get my hands on. I felt as though that I didn't need to go out and discover these things that have already been done a lot of times. And I just felt like that if I was to do that, I was putting myself at unnecessary risk, you know? So why not put yourself up to succeed, you know what I mean? Like put yourself in a better position to succeed. So, you know, reading, podcasts, you know, Colorado 14ers Club and stuff. But once I started getting into these communities and like reading these comments and getting to know a few people through what they've released on those platforms, I started to quickly see, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to be a part of this. You know, I don't know if I'm going to be accepted. I don't know if I ask a novice question, or what is to be assumed to be a novice question, how the responses will be. Is it going to be a lot of flake? Is it going to be a lot of slack? You know, like, or pushback, or, because I feel as though the communities, there's a lot of localism in climbing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone wants their own space. You know, and for people to share their space, and not to receive anything in return, it's kind of a hard ask. You know, so another example is I don't fill out trip reports, because I feel as though if you're gonna look at me, okay, yeah, I make videos, I make content, you can look at the conditions, you know, you can do that, but I'm not putting it on their platform. People look at me a little wrong. You know, they're like, well, why don't you fill out a trip report? You're supposed to be helping everybody else. But I would second that and say, does everyone that do 14ers, because I go out there and I see 16 people and I don't see not one trip report.
Yeah.
And at least I made a video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I get slack. They see a video and not a trip report. And I'm like, well, what's the difference between them and me? And the only thing that I see is a color, you know? And then at the same time, even if it's not that, I don't see any majority of the local community participating in trip reports, because they're hitting it right when the conditions are right, ample and everything like that. Especially in the first of season, they want to be the first ones up there. They're not going to say, hey, this is open, because then they know a flood of people are going to come there into their community, mess up, trash, this and that. You know, so I just feel like with this community, we need to uplift each other, embrace the education part. And I want those repetitive questions. I want those remedial questions, because if you don't know, you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. And it's our job as people, stewards of this land, or to like literally educate people to be more successful out here. You know, it's hard to want more Black people to be out here, and for us not to understand that if we get more black people out here, that means that they're going to be looking at search and rescue numbers. So I want to increase the people of color in this space without increasing the search and rescue numbers, you know, and so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a very deep concept and thought, and I appreciate it. And I want to just kind of dive into your approach to introducing, you know, the next generation family, Baltimore specifically, to the sport of climbing. I mean, we've been privy to some details around like what you got going on and how you've been doing that. But I want to say that your approach is beautiful, and I think very intentional in both fronts. You know, when I first entered the climbing space, it was through mentorship, and so similar to you, it's like someone provided an avenue for me to be curious and ask questions, and no question was a stupid question. When now that I look back and think about the questions that I asked, I was like, that was a stupid question,
Right.
you know? But in the moment, it was like, yo, ask whatever you want. I'm here for you. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna take risks, especially on a belay or on a top rope. I'm here to catch you. But, you know, take a risk. We'll be calculated, but I'm gonna make sure we both get home safely. But that was an experience that I was willing to take. But I've seen and been a part of students that are like, I'm not going to the gym as my first experience. Like, I want you to come to me, you know, bring the equipment, you know, bring the harness, bring the ropes, bring the belay equipment, just so I can get my hands on it. So it's not overstimulus when I get into the space, because I'm learning everything. There's no one that looks like me, you know. 98% of the gym is white, and we're the only two people of color.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen your approach on how you address that, but also make sure that there's comfort, mentorship, and space established for questions and tangible interaction. So can you speak to that, you know?
Yeah, so I feel like our community, this is what I just believe in. So through knowledge, there gains confidence, right? And through confidence, there's innovation. And I feel like there's a bunch of space in the outdoor industry for innovation, from equipment to gear to just everything. And you know, how we look, perceive things. We have a different perspective from others that have been introduced into this space compared to someone that is new to this space, you know? So that I really just want to harness the education factor and make that accessible to the community. So what we're working on is putting together avenues to open up a climbing gym / parkour gym in Baltimore. And then also have enough space in there for it to dual as an outdoor research center and education center for outdoor recreation and stuff like that, so people can take wilderness first aid classes and intro to rock climbing, your lead certificate, you know, like all of these things that you should do before you actually go outside.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I can't tell you what or what not to do, but this education factor or basic set of knowledge or skills will really help you understand and feel comfortable and gain confidence in the outdoors. You know, so that's really what I want to provide for Baltimore, and pretty much build a bridge from Baltimore to Colorado and make it more accessible, you know, so they can strive and obtain certain objectives and goals, you know. So it's a lot of things that are out here, but we just aren't educated. It's not advertised to us, and whatever way I can just give my people the knowledge or the drive, or, you know, the scenery, you know, be like, hey man, you know, that looks cool or whatever, you know. Not saying, you know, I rock climb and do mountains and stuff like that, but it's everything from walking to mountain climbing in between, you know, I support for people of color to do. So, you know, even just coming down to this lake, paddleboarding, or, you know, anything like that, fishing, I mean, all of it is is all welcome. That's what we need to get into these spaces, so we do have places to think, to reprieve, to really reflect on certain things that are happening in our lives, you know, because sometimes the loudest moments are through silence. You know, the loudest moments I've had are in the quietest places, because sometimes, you know, you can escape, you can plug in an ear pod, you can do this, but when you're immersed in your thoughts and you're inside of your body thinking these things, you have to go through it. And you have to go through that emotional process. You have to reflect and understand why you're feeling this, and it's just healthy. It's healthy for us to step away from such situations and find out, figure out which direction you wanna go in. You know, so
Yeah.
I really believe in that.
No doubt. And we're, you know, on the topic of conversation of learning, you know, you mentioned your first experience there of
Sorry.
going out to your climb there and being ill-prepared, you know, admittedly within that. And I can only imagine the influence that had on you learning by doing, and the influence that it's had on the way in which you approach now with preparation, with the safety and risk management approach that you have now and things of that nature. But taking that forward, what are you learning in this stage of your experience, and this stage of your climbing story? You know, like you started on the initial end of the spectrum, and you are now at this very much advanced spectrum, and hoping that education and learning is still present within this space. What are you learning now?
It's still, honestly, it's the more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. Mm-hmm. The more variables that you have to calculate, the more variables that you now understand that you can't control, the more understanding of like real risks that you're actually taking and comprehending that. So I feel like the education to the outdoors is always continual.
Yep.
And honestly, I'm just really immersing myself even more to just become eventually a subject matter expert in certain things and activities out here, you know. So I just really want to just, again, immerse myself in education, learn something every day, to be able to make myself a little better, you know what I mean? So, and to make things safer, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah. I want to get to your experience, and I don't think that the feat has been shared, and I want you to literally say what you've done. You know, it's like, sometimes I feel like in our community, it's like the humility is a beautiful fact, but the fact that you accomplished something of this feat should be shared. So you've done 14ers, and
Yeah.
I say you've
A
done
few.
More than a few. You've done a lot of 14ers. Can you share that experience? Because it's something that needs to be explained in this space, because I know we have viewers that have never considered rock climbing and they're BIPOC people, and the explanation of the feat that you've accomplished may do exactly what you experienced. Like,
Yeah.
yo, this is my first 14er. I want to do a lot more. How can I do that? Can I tap in with Evan? Is there a mentor that I can find? Because this is something that I want to be at number 9 or number 10 on the list that you've accomplished. So can you explain what you've done?
Yeah, so for everyone out there, a 14er is a mountain peak that reaches over 14,000 feet. So in Colorado, there's 58 14ers that technically rise over 14,000 feet. And I've completed them all. So it took me.
Hold on
Flex.
a second. Hold on. So you was just going to fly by that. I was like,
Yeah.
no, you got to let that one breathe.
Yeah, that's a flex.
Wait, how many have you done?
58.
Oh, okay. And that's all of them in the
Yeah,
state?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what was the time frame for that? Like
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
So-
But you know, that's broken up into seasonally, I mean,
Yeah.
like you only have like climbing seasons only like 2-3 months a year.
Which is even more impressive.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
2 years, but the season's 3 months. Yeah. And by the way, I did 58. Yeah.
Hey man, you gotta, when you set yourself, set your mind to something, you can either do or not do,
Yeah.
and I just choose to do. So,
Yeah.
and I just want to inspire other people to do it. So, this is just the beginning of my career. This is just an introduction to like what I want to do. I found the love, through this journey. I've found and embraced this, and now I know I want to continue this. And so now, instead of just peak bagging and saying, hey, I'm doing everything, now I get to like, this is the exciting part, is like to do the climbs that I want to do research and be like, man, this looks unique, or this hasn't been done. Let me research this, and now it's not like I'm stuck to a list anymore of like things that are, so, and it's only up from here, and I want to just continue the growth in the technical aspect of climbing, so.
I mean, that's like super dope to see you're even just in the span of our cast here, you talking about I started climbing 4 years ago and this was my first experience and things of that nature, to what you just mentioned, and the growth that's been from that first experience to hitting all of those 14ers there, it's just like unbelievable, fast-tracked from a level of like technicality, but also skill within that. That first time all the way to where you are now. Do you have, lessons or guidance that you can impart on people? Because transparently, not everyone's going to be at the same rate of growth as you are. Some will be. But what were like trips and hiccups and things of that nature, not just like out on the rocks, but like just period, that you experienced that you can impart on others, of like, look out for this. I went left when you should have went right here, or you should go right when I went left here, things of that nature?
Don't start over your head.
Yeah.
Don't just go and immerse yourself in the hardest thing that you can possibly do. Kind of take a step back, a breather, and humble yourself before the mountain humbles you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These mountains are unforgiving. So, I mean, take that with consideration. It's not just all for play.
Yeah.
There's serious considerations. I am strictly weather dependent. I don't go out if the weather is shitty or really bad. Honestly, the weather is number one. Even, this is a lesson right here. So, even if the weather is good today, if the weather is bad tomorrow, you should reconsider. If it, it depends if it's going to be a little sprinkle. Now, if, let's say, I'll give you 2 examples. If today is going to be good, tomorrow is going to be light thunderstorms in the morning, and then clear in the afternoon. That's something that you might be able to manage. Now, if you go out and say, hey, today is clear, but then in the afternoon it's going to start thunderstorming, then it's going to thunderstorm overnight, and then it's going to turn into snow, and then that's going to snow for 2 days. You shouldn't go out there, because that means that you're not going to be, if you get stuck, you're not going to get saved for like 3 days. So I always look at like, how can I get home? That's the ultimate goal, is to get home, right? So even if I'm unable to get home, who can bring me home? Can I call help, and is help regularly available? Because being in the backcountry and stuff like that, you can call 911, but it's not just no ambulance rolling up this one, so it's going to take mobilization time, minimum 3-4 hours just for them to just step foot out of their thing, and then for them to commute, hike, or whatever. I mean, you're looking at a lengthy rescue process. So you got to be prepared, have those contingency plans. Fast and light is good. Sometimes it's all fine and dandy until you hit a threshold. you really should have backups. You know, I carry backups on everything. You know, 2 headlamps, 2 battery packs, 2 speakers. I mean, everything is 2. For me, I'd rather carry a little extra weight to have that reassurance that I'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I have white tendencies, but I'm still black. Yeah. I'm still black, yo. I ain't doing everything.
Oh, that's good.
I'm not doing
That is too good. I love that. I've got a follow-up for you before you jump in, Marcus.
Yeah.
You know, the lessons that and the knowledge that people learn climbing, I think transcends climbing. You know, it's embedded in the way in which you approach the world, you approach your day, you approach problems, you approach challenges, and Marcus can speak to that as well, because we literally just had this conversation yesterday of like, wow, I did this, and now it just changes the way in which I attack problems and then I approach them. But you also once said, it's the mountain stays the same. It's what you bring to it. Expand upon that, like what that means to you and the ways in which the way in your climbing transcends and trickles into how you father, you know, how you take on problems, things of that nature.
Yeah, so the mountain will tell you your weaknesses and deficiencies, right? So it'll tell you if you're hydrated. It'll tell you if you are your nutrition level is good. It'll tell you if you're having some problems with your literal health. You know, like you know, many people find out they're diabetic up there and stuff. You know, like it's really a real place. But I would second it with this is that it's not so many lessons that climbing has taught me. It's really because people forget my profession. I'm an environmentalist by trade. So I deal with very hazardous or stressful situations all the time on a daily basis. So that's my autopilot. I've been doing this for almost a decade. So to now find risk management, like some similar characteristics to my profession, what I consider autopilot in climbing, is just like a continuation to what I want to do. You know, is to find that way, the right way to do something that's so dangerous and make it feel effortless. You know, my word of the day is sexily. You know, like sexily everything. You know, like when I'm climbing, I want to look smooth. You know, when I'm hiking, even I want to be, you know, have those quiet feet. You know, like I want to. I don't want to just do it and just stumble up. I want to look good doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
A technician. That's a pure technician's approach, and I respect that because I'm very much a technician as well.
Yeah.
That is too good. Yeah, because you know, us watching your film, I was hearing a lot of feedback of like, wow, that is difficult, like on your ascents, and I was like, man, that boy is smooth. I'm like, he has not broke stride yet, and I'm looking at these boulders that he's on, like, yo, I would definitely need some assistance there, like a break, like, oh, let me see how I'm gonna traverse this, and you was just smooth, baby. But I did want to circle back to one point specifically, you know, the moments that I think true leadership was shown in everything that I've seen from you is specifically related to the weather. Is like this feat that I've been planning for, and I think everyone that has had a goal or something that they want to accomplish is met with resistance at some point. In your fact, it was weather, and it was, yeah, I still need to get home, so nah, I'm not gonna do it, you know? Yeah. And I think prioritizing the fact that, similarly, we need to get home and we need to care or love or be loved is external to the accomplishment that you're trying to chase. While that's gonna be another 14er that's on the list, or that's gonna be another accomplishment, when you get home, I'm sure your family loves that you were able to like find solitude in that feat, but they just wanna love you. And I just wanna give you props and respect that moment of the fact that you understand that, because like you said, the risk of one slip, literally one, is catastrophic.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, if I kill myself, my wife's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
Yeah.
that's simple, you know?
Yeah, for real. So a lot of the audience doesn't even know. So yeah, I've done the 14ers, but like there's a film that we just produced and it's touring right now in different film festivals and stuff. It's called Just the Kid from Baltimore, and it's a short film going over my life, where I come from, what I've accomplished, and what I'm trying to do. So the reason why this park means so much to me, honestly, is you know, this is where my next feat really is. So there's this mountain, Goody Mountain, that really hasn't been. It's climbable via another route, but I'm doing a obscure route that's called the Megalodon Traverse, and it's quite technical climbing at very high exposure in hostile terrain. So, but you know, this documentary goes through this process and on this attempt, and you know, it's a great reminder of like, it doesn't matter who you are. The mountain does not care who you are. It will still consume you. You know, we have lost so many great people that we thought or perceived them to be invincible, you know, but the mountain does not care, you know. So you gotta read those signs of the mountain, and you know, sometimes there's funding that's backing, there's a film that's backing, there's, you know, all of these pressures, arbitrary pressures that you put yourself on that will kind of steer you into danger, or not to think clearly, or to hear those warnings. But you gotta hear those warnings, you know. Like, I'd be lying to you if I told you that any time that I've led, I don't still get scared sometimes, you know. Like, yeah, you have to internalize that. You have to work through it. I have a different way of working through my fear to understand, like, is this actual fear? What am I fearing? Is it like a actual fear, or is it like just something that, like, because I'm uncomfortable? Am I actually going to get hurt, or is it like just because I'm kind of high, or I you know, just kind of uncertain, you know? So just to be able to like clearly reflect on those raw emotions that I'm having, and have to confront them and like calm myself down. And I don't even like getting to that point. You know what I mean? That's not why I climb. You know, I climb for more of a meditative state. I climb for just the motion of it, going, reaching higher, striving for more, doing a harder move, you know, reaching a little further. And that's really what I do it for, is to overcome those cruxes, those problems, you know, to see something that's so hard, or perceived to be so hard, and you to feel like you've done it gracefully. You know, it's like those moments that you understand, like, your work paid off a little bit, you know, like you see the progress, and, you know, consistency, drinking a gallon of water a day, you know, hydrating and acclimating, and, you know, all of those things that, you know, we kind of just don't do or take for granted. Just the very vessels that we live in, you know. So
I want to, you know, commend you on two things. The first of which is, like knowing your why, you know, the purpose and your tenets of things that you won't compromise on, for all the reasons that you just mentioned there. I mean, when there's funding backing you, saying, hey, we need this, like we need to see you do this, you know, and you're not compromising on that, is powerful. And being just unrelenting on, and not willing to compromise on this, that, or the other, is critical. Because I mean,
I'm from Baltimore, yo.
Yeah.
I'm from Baltimore. I mean, yo, like we go against the grain on everything, you know. So.
But you know, there's like countless stories, not even just within sport or within climbing, where it's like this person relented on the one thing they said they wouldn't, and this is what happened. You know, and that ranges from, you know, terrible occurrences to businesses crumbling, to marriages failing, you know, things of that nature, where it's like, we had this thing that we said we wouldn't go back on, and we did, you know, and that's what happened. So kudos to you for not doing that, you know, admittedly, and continuing on that. Secondly is your vulnerability, you know, is a wow, you know, with others on outside of the scene looking in, and they're like, yo, this dude's done this many 14ers and he still gets scared out there, you know, and for you to say that is so powerful for people all across the spectrum of like, I'm interested in climbing, but I'm scared to just go on this, you know. It's so powerful to be just to humanize this, because I mean, I think especially as we continue to evolve and as you're at the state and stage that you're in, others can look and just be like, he's robotic, you know, especially when you're doing it at the way and you're doing it and making it look so easy. It's like, yo, he still gets scared, you know. Especially when you control it and you harness it and you use it for fuel. At the rate in which you do. So I just want to commend you on those two things, because that's powerful, you know, and I don't want to like neglect and overlook you sharing those things and acknowledging those. So kudos for that.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to just like circle back to the experience of like us sitting down and talking, because I think that it's magical to share that just from my perspective. You know, obviously Derek had referenced it so far about, you know, us just literally sitting down and saying like, yo, you climb, I climb. You climb a lot more than I climb. and you know, you start to like have those moments where it's like, oh, you do this for real? And you told me your next trip, and I was like, oh, cool, let's pull up Mountainsmith and look at it. And you were like, yeah, hand me the phone, I'll show it to you. And I was like, I was like, nah, dog. You got it? Yeah. I was like, nah, you got that one. You enjoy that. I can't wait to see how it looks from the top when the drone's up there. But I say all that to say, it was never a sense of like, yo, I'm better than you at this, or like, yo, you could never get to this level. It was just a humility of, I love this experience and I love doing 14ers and I love planning the next trip. I just want to share it with you. Well, I'm not going to make you feel as if you can't do it or it's not for you, which I think is a beautiful moment. And I appreciate you being literally that gracious, because I've had people that are like, oh, you climb? And I'm like, yeah, I climb. But I've even shared it. I'm not a climber, because from where we live and where I'm from, the climbing ethos is like similar to what I'm sharing. It's like, yeah, I do 14ers. Have you done one? No. All right, cool. And people just walk away. But for you, it's like, we didn't even approach the 14er until the end. And then I was like, oh, hold up. I was like, wait. It's like, yo, I just met Jesus. You know, like, my man out here saving me. But again, like, the humility is something that I just want to show gratitude for, because that's going to inspire me, because it wasn't a moment of aggression. It was just a moment of, I love this, I want to share it with you. So thank you for doing that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because that doesn't happen, you know, and the fact that two brothers came into a space where more brothers were around, and it was love and passion and sharing and resting and just a moment of solitude that I haven't experienced. Yeah. So.
No, you know, I would contradict. I would say this. I would say this. Once I get to know people, then I'm competitive.
Oh, now we can cut loose.
But I'm not, you know, like I encourage. I want, you know, like I said, everyone from 14ers to just walking, everything between. I want people to carry on with their walk of life, right? We need black people in every space in the outdoors. So I want to encourage people's activities as long as it's for the positive. You know, I don't want to make. I've been counted out. I've had that question saying, "Hey, do you know you got to climb some of these 14ers?" You know, like certain things like that. Yeah. With, you know, like not even just knowing who I am. You know, just based off of assumptions. And I'm like, this world has been off of assumptions, and I know what assumptions feel like. You know, when somebody assumes something of you that is totally not even called for, you know, like
Yeah.
remotely close to being accurate. So I really just want to not deter people from their track in this space. I want to encourage them to push them to do what they want to do. You know, so I feel like that was just the beginning. I feel like, you know, I've met superhumans to me, you know, to you know, people, you know, Josh has done, you know, black dude done 14ers and all the 13ers.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So just learning about the black history that we do have, and black people that have done things, like we just need to learn more. We need to make those stories more available for people to consume and to learn about. So I really love this podcast. I love like what you guys are doing, and I mean the setup is legit. I mean, you know, so I mean
Look at it. For sure. Agreed. And you mentioned, you know, Josh, who inspired you, you know, the way in which you're inspiring others.
Bro, I didn't even know him. I didn't even know he was like a thing until I was like almost done. So like, you know, like, yeah.
Was there anyone or anything, you know, that inspired you initially? I mean, you mentioned Josh there, but anyone else, even to this day, you know, that's inspired you to perhaps in the lane of climbing or perhaps out, just to say like, keep going?
Someone that I have mad respect for is Phil Henderson.
Oh, the legend.
Mad respect for. I see myself in him so much. I try to, you know, he has so many good characteristics.
Yep.
He's been around. He's seen so much. He has so much knowledge and wisdom, and I love how he speaks, communicates. How open, inviting, warm he is. So you know, just learning about him, because his face looked familiar. Yo. I was like, yo, like I know this guy. I was like, yo, I've seen him before, you know, and to find out he been in the industry for like 20 plus years, and I was like, I know I saw you now, bro. You know, so that was a remarkable experience meeting him. That's something that I cherish with my heart, and that's something I'm gonna take to my grave, and like I'm very appreciative for him, and yeah, so yeah, you know, just the people that were like I learned that were the people that made me feel comfortable are the things I wanted to emulate, right? So these people I talked about, they didn't come off cocky, and, you know, I'm obviously I'm not saying anyone's name that is cocky or anything like that, you know. So, and there's a time to be cocky. Sometimes I feel like you do have to be, when you're approaching these mountains, you kind of have to be selfishly cocky, or, you know, to say, boost yourself up and say, hey, I can do this, and look at something that's so intimidating, and to like really commit and give it your all.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be ready to, you know, be relentless. You know, not listen to your body sometimes, and keep pushing and get better. So, yeah, Phil Henderson, I would say by far is like one of the many people that I really look up to.
Yeah. Well, of course, we kind of know what's next for you, but outside of, you know, what's behind us, what's your next venture? What's your next feat?
Next feat, Little Bear Blanca Traverse. So that's going to be, there's 4 great traverses in Colorado. I've done 3 out of the 4. And so this is my 4th one. So this is technically the most exposed, most difficult, most I guess. Little Bear Blanca Traverse is walking from Little Bear Peak to Blanca Peak on this ridge that's a mile long. And it's got consistent exposure to 2,000 feet on both sides, and a fair amount of down climbing and up climbing, you know, class 5 kind of stuff. Kind of move light and fast. So that's the last one. I'll be done. All 4 great traverses in Colorado as well.
Dope.
It's incredible.
Grand Tetons on the list this year. Middle Tetons on the list this year. So, and then also my son. He wants to. We're gonna get him up. He's 8. So I've been holding off. I got him up 1. So, but this year we've been working, so he's gonna get up 8 this year.
This year's it's a year.
Yeah, this year is this year. So he wants to do all 58. So.
Oh, in the Father's footsteps. I love this. And the inspiration is at home. So this is beautiful. As we wrap, any shout outs you want to give? I know that you had referenced a few, Phil, others in the industry, but I'm sure the family and their support for you has been everlasting. So anyone that you'd love to shout out as we
Yeah,
wrap?
man. All right. So I'll just, huge shout out to Boys in the Woods by far for putting
For sure.
Yeah.
together this venue in this space. Shout out to you guys, this podcast. This is, honestly, an experience. I'm just grateful to have an opportunity to speak to an audience that is an audience that I need to speak to. You know, this is so perfect. Shout out to April, my wife, my kids, Evan, Tristan. Shout out to, oh God, all right. Makia, shout out to Makia. CC, shout out to CC. All right, we'll do this again. CC, well, shout out Makia. We got to do both because I can't put one over the other. I'll get beat up, bro. Justin, Maddox, Kibi, Butcher, the whole Tiger team from back home. FTI, Brandon, TJ. Everybody from back home that's supporting, that has been there, Justin's been there, that's my car buddy, he's back home in Baltimore. I talk to him almost every day, anytime I'm driving, he's always driving. So, I'm always talking to him and plotting, planning strategically, not just, expanding my mind. We're constantly expanding our minds, not just in climbing, but just overall, just being a better human, and just learning from our mistakes, somebody else's mistakes, So I think everybody that's been in my life, there's a couple of companies too. So shout out to UST, ReadyWise, Piranha sunglasses. Oboz for sure, bro. Oboz, yo, get you a pair, man. Shout out to them. I think I said UST with their tents and stuff. Vibe Tribe Adventures. They've been there. They helped me out throughout my journey financially and stuff, and getting me some classes. Colorado Blackpackers hooked me up with the Adamant Club for Pikes Peak. So I was the first black person on that team. So that's a prestigious feat. Adamant Club is a 100-year-old tradition that they go up Pikes Peak every New Year's, no matter the condition. And they go up and shoot off fireworks. So I've been a part of that for the last 2 years now.
Dope.
So we started out with one black person, and I got my buddy Andrew in there too. So now it's 2 black people. So so we're making some progress, and wherever I can, I always, it's one thing to make it. And it's another thing to make it and bring somebody along. And I think that's so much more beneficial, and that's what we need. Yeah. We don't need another hero, in the outdoor industry is way too big for just one hero for our race. Yeah. So I feel like we need a plethora, we need a team, we need tribes of people and to be able to to draw people with relatable experiences or relatable things to get them outside. It's not just one person that's going to get everyone outside. Yeah. We need everyone to create their own space and safe space for people to come and feel safe. Mm-hmm. And give people options to be like, okay, this didn't make me feel comfortable. I could go somewhere else, and so they can gain that confidence and comfort, so they can have those beneficial experiences in the outdoors.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, any parting notes from you? How can people stay connected to you?
At Black Sherpa, everything. At Black Sherpa, at Black_Sherpa on IG, Black Sherpa on Black Sherpa 410 on YouTube. I'm on Twitter as well. Twitter is kind of interesting because I drop little nuggets, inconsistently, but it's great.
Transparently, inconsistently.
Yeah. We're working on some big things. We're putting things on paper. I'm a guy about action. I don't like to talk that much, I just like to do. I like to progress and, you know, look at the past and learn from it and progress, move on, internalize it, because some people aren't here anymore and we're fortunately here.
Yeah.
So we got to utilize what we have and what's tangible to us, and so we can expand and help heal our culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
For sure. Yeah, and as we approach wrapping here, I'm just grateful to be exposed to what you're doing. Admittedly, because I was completely unaware of
I like that.
of like what you're doing and what you're accomplishing. Even when like sitting down and just connecting with you initially, I was like, oh, dude, this dude is dope.
Yeah.
And then to hear what you're doing, I was like, oh, he's really dope. Like, this is really cool.
Yeah, because 14ers doesn't define me.
Right.
You know, I'm a father. I'm an environmentalist by trade, and I come with a lot of unique skill sets and different diverse areas.
Yeah.
So I just want to, I don't know, I could be anybody. I could be just an environmentalist today. I could be the 14er guy. I could be a climber. I could be, I mountain bike, I snowboard, so whatever I want to do, I do it, and no limitations. No limit, that's what I think that our culture, we put a limit to a lot of things and say, oh, well, this is the cap, or, this is what will make us happy, or like, man, just push through that, man. Shoot for fucking Pluto. If you hit Jupiter, bro, just as good, so that's where I'm at.
Agreed. Yeah, and just as I'm grateful for that exposure, I'm super excited to see what you accomplish to come, all that you've done has been an exceptional feat to this point. But when I look at you, I'm like, oh, he's got more.
Yeah.
He can do. He has so much more that I know he's gonna do, and not just achieve, but accomplish and like steward.
Yeah.
To influence and to inspire others.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to, from afar, hopefully up close at some point in time, to see all of that.
We're gonna have to get you guys up a mountain now, yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
We're gonna get you up a 14. I got a couple in mind, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, book it. Yeah. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the brotherhood.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the connection. Like Derek said, looking forward to staying connected and engaged for eternity. So thank you for that. Thanks to Boys in the Woods. Thank you to you, and thank you for the space. I'm really looking forward to everything that's to come and sharing this experience as we move forward. So, shout out to Baltimore.
Hey, we out here, yo. We out here.
I love it. I'll only say that once.
Oh, here we go. This is a wrap.
And there we have it. It's too good.